Well, I just want this to be a free-flowing conversation. I'm going to ask you some questions. I have some questions prepared. I want to talk about, Sikhism itself, and sort of ground people in that. From I understand, it really preaches like a devotion and remembrance of God and about truthful living and equality of mankind and, things like that, right? And there are gurus, correct?
Yeah.
And the gurus really stress it, from what I understand, a full equality of women, right? There's like which is, something that I think is so wonderful. And to see that in a religious aspect, I think is something really wonderful and sort of that we in Western cultures don't know as much about.
Yeah.
Yes. So, talk to me a bit about that, and am I describing that properly?
Yeah, you've done your research. I'm really proud.
So, yeah, do you want to talk any more about that a little bit of just, kind of Sikhism itself before we get into your personal experience within that?
Yeah, I mean, Sikhism, like the basics of Sikhism are believing that there is one divine force, not necessarily like an entity, not like a bearded guy in the clouds, but just a force that we can't comprehend, that kind of unites all of us, is within us, it's outside of us. And that's kind of why we do preach equality of women, just because we're all equal. Like this body is just kind of like a mask for our soul, which is genderless. And, I might have been a man in my previous life, might be a cockroach in my next life, I don't know, And it's the only thing that's stopping us from seeing that divinity within us and around us is our own self getting caught up in the fact that I am bigger than this whole universe. My problems are relatively huge, when you don't realize that there are other people that are worse off, and that there are things that are quite bigger than yourself. And that is what we call ego. But that is not to be kind of confused with self-respect. There's a difference between being egotistical and being confident, being confident in like the context of Sikhism is realizing that what you're doing your best. You always try to do your best, and whatever the outcome is, whatever happens as a result of your actions, that is not up to you. It'll happen the way it's supposed to, and you should just be confident that in any given moment you are doing your best to be your best.
And that in and of itself is the divinity within you. That light placed in you is the divinity which, allows you or motivates you, I suppose, continually to let that shine.
Yeah. And it's, basically you got it down.
Oh, good. I want to make sure I'm understanding and talking to people about it. And there's a word that's used in Sikhism too, right? And it's Khalsa. Am I pronouncing that right? Yeah. Which means pure, right?
Yeah.
And they are Sikhs that have undergone the sacred ceremony, which is an Amrit ceremony.
Yeah, Amrit.
And so you have undergone that ceremony, correct?
Yeah, in April.
In April? Okay, that's what I wanted to ask you. I'm so interested in this. So just to give people sort of an understanding and a foundation of what that is, it's a baptism ceremony, and it involves drinking the Amrit, right, which is sugar water stirred with a dagger.
Yes.
Correct, yeah.
I can't begin to explain the depth of it, because when you say baptism, people get, kind of the Christian context, the Western context, but it's much more than that. The Amrit ceremony is just like, it's a ceremony. It kind of reaffirms your commitment to this. But the real, you can say that the real Amrit, which basically means immortal, or it means love, basically. Without, the literal word comes from the word and rit, which means without death. And the only thing that is without death is love. And so basically, it's just a ceremony that kind of reaffirms you on this path, and it makes you realize that you're on this path to find love, to find the love within yourself and the people around you, and to realize that love with a capital L comes from like the divinity that is around us, and so yeah, it's just the first step. It's not like once you've been baptized, that's it. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. It is merely the first step in this journey, and it's kind of like the acceptance into the school. You are required to study and take tests, and eventually, hopefully, maybe get a diploma.
Oh, wonderful!
So yeah.
And so you just became baptized in April.
Yeah.
And so what drove that for you?
That was a long and tedious process of like 2 years.
As finding yourself always is.
Yeah.
And it's sort of continual. I'm always sort of, who am I today, and how can I be my best self? And it's a continual journey for me, I find, in that process of sort of, and I come from, just so you know, a secular, very secular point of view, but I still feel the tenets deeply that we're talking about, and it's sort of the way I choose to live my life. And every day is a possible learning experience, a possible teachable moment, and taking that in and then processing that back out into the world, if you will.
Yeah. No, the word Sikh literally means learner. And anyone can be a Sikh in that sense. We're all learning. It's more. This is kind of why I hesitate to call Sikhism a religion, because it might be formalized, but it's literally constant introspection, constant just learning how to be a human being rather than anything else. Human being versus being human. A human being is kind of just there, but being human is an active process, and that is kind of a common thread that we see through all faiths and even non-faiths, that you're just trying to be the best person you can be, and stop it. And for me, I found it through Sikhism. Different people find it from different things, and I found it through my faith.
Yeah. So, you said it, and feel free to just sort of talk as much or as little as you want to about it, but you were saying that it was sort of a 2-year tedious process that led you to this. Yeah. So, I guess my questions are, was it, is your family involved in any way? Is it friends? Like, what brought you to sort of make a decision to go through the ceremony and, make that commitment in a sense?
Well, it was just like a change in community for me. I've always been just kind of like the casual Sikh, just going to Gurdwara on Sundays, and that's about it. Like, never actually understanding why I was there. And then came a period in my life where I was just very I would say I was really depressed. I was just feeling really bad about myself, and I just felt terrible, and I didn't know why I was feeling this way, and like how I could escape it, and how I could get better. And then I started hanging out with other fellow Sikhs in Cincinnati, like practicing Sikhs, and I just started, like we said, like I started falling in love with what what it said and about how to kind of overcome your problems, you know, and just focus on what's really important. And like any other teenager, I was kind of self-absorbed at that time, so I didn't take into account that this journey might be affecting my parents as well. You know, and we kind of had some strain kind of communicating how much this actually meant to me and what I was going through and what changes internally I was facing. And so, I mean, I guess I had these like high expectations that they would kind of just go with it and, you know, accept me as their kid, you know. But parents don't do well with change, especially with their only daughter. And so my mom had like expectations, you know, that I would be this typical Indian girl and I would be like super pretty. Well, I think I'm pretty now.
You are, yes.
But like, you know, just like the conventional sense of being beautiful. And I guess that was her biggest disappointment, that I was going through like this phase where I was just like, I wasn't interested in makeup and I wasn't interested in like doing all those girly things and just more like within myself. I started just getting calmer and not as weird as I was before.
Yeah.
And so I faced a lot of backlash from that, but I went to college, and it just kind of, everything fell into place, and like, I actually went to my Amrit ceremony without telling my family, and that was, I don't know what it was. It was not me. I was not planning on that, you know. I basically just told myself if it's meant to happen the night before, like, I'll wake up in the morning and get ready and just walk out. If it's not, then I'll sleep in. And by coincidence, you know, I woke up and I got ready and I left, and by 1 o'clock on Saturday, I was baptized sick, and yeah. And,
wow. It's wonderful. It's a sort of a, like, you know, a precursor to what you were going to be going through anyway, in a sense, because, you know, you're guided by this internal force that allows you to just sort of move forward in the direction that you want to move forward in. And so in a way that seems like it's symbolic. It's interesting, the information with your parents too, because, and this is a very extreme example, but it reminds me of watching, an interview with Cher and her, Cher and Chaz, you know, who was Chastity was her daughter, and then had a sex change. And it only reminds me in the sense that the struggle that Cher talked about was the sort of death of the dreams she had and the expectations that she had for her daughter. You know, the growing up and getting married and being in that dress and, you know, seeing your daughter sort of, you know, going through those traditional norms and realizing that that wasn't going to happen anymore was very hard for her personally to take, and she almost had to mourn the death of that dream in a way.
Yes.
And so it made me understand that perspective a little bit, you know, you sort of think.
My parents have gone through that. Well, they're still going through that. But after this happened, you know, all this attention, it made me realize that they were just kind of like, they were just thinking that because of this path that I'm on, that I wouldn't be able to live like a normal girl.
They want to protect you, ultimately.
Yeah, they wanted to protect me from, like, the rude comments, basically, and, like, making fun of me. And I'm just like, but then I kind of showed them, because I'm in my second year of college, they've kind of seen me struggle. But, like, where I am now, I've kind of showed them indirectly, maybe directly, that I can grow up and I can be my own person and I can do all the things that a normal girl does. Like, my brother's getting married this weekend. I'm going to be, like, helping them get ready and, like, running all over the place like a little sister. You know, I'm not, just because I don't look like a conventional female doesn't mean I won't act like, I I won't take on those roles that females do. I'll still be a mom. I'll still be a sister. I'll still be a daughter. And it's a very fluid process.
Yeah.
And I think they just realize that right now.
I can only imagine after sort of how the attention that this story got, how they must have felt, and I mean, was a huge emotion part of it just pride for you? I know that, I'm so happy to hear that. It's wonderful. So let's talk about that moment. Now, just reading through that, it was somebody had alerted you, correct? A friend of yours had said this is on Facebook. You were standing in line somewhere, presumably around campus. You go to Ohio State, right? So, yep.
I was actually, I was coming back from an exam.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm always taking exams. I was coming back from a biology exam.
Welcome to college.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I was coming back from a biology exam, and that day I was just kind of like, screw it. I have an exam. I'm not going to dress up. I'm not going to, I don't care. And so I was just going to get breakfast, and then after breakfast, I had to go to lab, 15 minutes afterwards, and I was on my phone checking my email like I always do, and I zone out while I'm outside, really easily. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I didn't even notice. Yeah. I tend not to notice what's going on around me.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what they looked like or anything. I didn't even hear the camera click or something. But I mean, no one said anything. I'm assuming the people around us saw, but I was too engrossed in my smartphone.
Right.
Didn't realize.
You were hearing that, and so then you found out from a friend that it was on Facebook, right? Is that it? Was it Facebook that you first?
Yeah. I was going to Cincinnati over the weekend, and my mom had picked me up, and I was on my phone, and my friend posted on my wall saying, "Look, I found you on Reddit," and he posted a screenshot of his phone, and I was like, "Oh, what? I'm on the internet." Well, I don't consider myself worthy of being on the internet, so I was really surprised that I was on the internet now, and especially if it's from a picture. And so the first thing that came to my mind was okay, I'm on the internet. Okay, someone probably said some douchebag thing, or I know what they're gonna say. I'm aware.
You were already sort of prepped for what you were gonna see.
Yeah. I already knew what was gonna happen, and I didn't get the link until around 10 o'clock at night. One of my friends gave it to me, and I literally sat in my room and just read all the comments. And by that time, they had 300, 400 comments, and I read all of them, and I was just this is nothing interesting or surprising. I was just kind of whatever. And I was gonna report the picture. I really was. And then my friend was like, "That's not gonna do anything," And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. It's not gonna do anything." And then I don't even know why I responded. I'm so used to explaining myself, through my interfaith work and through basically being in college, that it just it didn't faze me, and it was just instinctual what I had to do, and then people were like, "Oh yeah, you just got bullied, you were a victim of bullying," and I was like, "I don't think so. I didn't feel like a victim." If it was someone else, then I feel like it would have been bullying, because then it wasn't me, but since it's me, I'm just I didn't get bullied.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't know.
The response.
And it's especially if the original person that posted it apologized. I mean, how often do you hear of a bullying incident where they apologize and actually learn something?
That's what I think made everybody. That's what made it sort of explode, I think, in a way.
Yeah.
Was that cycle. But I think that my feelings about this are that your response was so beautiful and truthful and authentic and lovely, that for anybody to respond in a different way, the worst that he could have done is said nothing. But I think the fact that you wrote that and the way that you wrote that he coming back was like, it was such a beautiful thing to see. And I think that was the response from everybody. It was like, I don't even know you anymore, internet. Who are you? These things don't happen. Exactly. And I was like, come and snuggle with me now, internet. Get over here. Let's cuddle. Like, yeah. Wow. So after that, and after this went viral, I mean, did you feel, what was the response? I guess my question is sort of twofold. What was the response before that happened? And you said you were sort of used to, people talking to you about this, and how did that go? And then after this, have people come up to you, contacted you, and in a very different way?
I don't know. I guess for me, it's really good because what I look like becomes a filter for the types of friends I want, mm-hmm. and the people that I want to surround myself with, and the people that, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but the people that kind of choose to stare at me or look at me and look away and don't have the courage to talk to me or just approach me in a friendly way. I kind of don't want them around, regardless. But then the people that have overcome, that I have a beard, that I have a mustache, and I wear a turban, they've become my best friends, and those are the type of people that I want around. But at the same time, it's kind of my responsibility as well. What's stopping me from talking to the people that are staring? Why don't I approach them instead of expecting them to approach me? And I guess I learned that lesson well through my interfaith work, that I shouldn't be afraid of approaching people, and talking about this super taboo thing that we call our faith and non-faith.
Right.
And now I've gotten so many emails and so many cards and so many hugs. And it's good, I really appreciate it, and I'm really glad that I could somehow elevate people to inspire them to kind of accept the diversity that's in this world, that we're not all cookie cutter pieces of each other, and I'm really humbled by it. It's I never expected it to be that big because I just thought I was doing what I do. Mm-hmm. It wasn't this super fantastic thing that I did, and it kind of made me sad as well because people were we don't see this enough, if the world was like this, it would have been awesome. And I just think if you think that kindness is so rare, then there's something really wrong, it kind of just shows how disconnected we are. And I don't know, maybe that's just my perspective on how I look at life, and it just made me really kind of mellow that I was people think this is extraordinary when it really is just about being who you are and just expressing that in a polite way.
I think it's I think we, you're right that it's interesting that you say that, because kindness is something that happens every day in millions of places, even within this country, it happens every day. But there might not be enough examples of when we actually see it happening.
For me, when someone looks at me or, makes eye contact, I think it's an act of kindness that I smile back. I don't frown or I don't.
Me too.
And it's it doesn't have to be a story, it's just we have to be aware that there is kindness and we shouldn't take it for granted. And it shouldn't be this super extraordinary thing, that's out of our league and out of this world.
And it's okay, because, you know, it's okay if somebody doesn't smile back, I think, too. Yeah. That's a big thing, you know, like, I smile at people a lot, and, like, being in a city like DC and then New York a lot of people aren't very smiley, but I don't do it for that. You know, I've had friends that have sort of said next to me, you know, that person didn't, are you embarrassed? That person didn't even smile back at you. I'm like, no, that's not why I smiled. I didn't smile at them to have them smile back at me. I smiled at them to smile at them and just show, like, I'm looking you in the eyes and acknowledging you as a person, you know.
It's like I acknowledge that the fact that you looked at me and you're alive.
Yeah. It's as simple as that. I don't need anything in return, you know.
Yeah.
So your parents, you were saying, were very, you know, proud and, like, really loved to see that, was that an interesting sort of thing, considering some of the complexity that went through your process in being, you know, sick?
Yeah. My mom told me, she was the last person to find out. Like, I was really surprised. I even went on her Facebook just to check if she, like, read the story or something.
Right.
And, like, it wasn't on her wall or on her feed, and I was like, oh, so she doesn't know. That's good.
Right.
But I kind of just, like, approached, like, talking to my parents about it as, like, I don't want to push them into acknowledging something that they themselves haven't accepted. And for them to see that other people are proud of me for something that they themselves were kind of hesitant to accept, you know. So I didn't push them into acknowledging anything. I didn't even talk to them about it. And then my mom called me herself, and she was like, so I just read your story, and I just want you to know that I'm very proud of you, and that, like, my parents have had, like, a really hard life, you know, as, like, immigrants and just first generation Americans. And so she was like, I just feel like all the struggle and all the turmoil that I went through in my life is just, like, paid off today. And I'm like, that's really sad, but really awesome.
Yeah.
And I don't know, she made me cry.
But yeah, it's a wonderful sentiment. Amazing, very powerful, very powerful.
So, yeah, so she, and so they're really proud, and it hasn't stopped them from making, like, famous jokes, but...
Right, but, you know...
But yeah,
comes with the territory.
They're really happy. I just hope that it kind of stays permanent, and, like, we move on from this, and just become better mother, daughter, father, families, you know.
It's another layer to your relationship that you build upon, so it's a stepping stone in a way. I have 2 more questions to ask you, and then, you know, we can jump off, or you can ask me anything.
Okay.
The questions that I have, one are around sort of in your decision-making process. You know, you are the daughter of immigrants, and then you're living in a, you know, very Western society, right? Although society in India is sort of values beauty very much as well, right? So you come from the society. When you're going through that decision, is there sort of a letting go of participating in those Western beauty conventions? You know, like in the sense that, you know, did you enjoy those things at all prior? Oh yeah, sure. The was there a process that you went through where there was sort of a letting go of wanting to participate in those conventional norms? Like, you know, I think a lot of women enjoy the whole, like, I like to put makeup on, and I like to, you know, play with my hair and fashion and things like that. Was that what were you like prior to making this decision? You know, and was there a stripping of that for you at all?
There wasn't a really strict. Well, I just like every other girl, I have bad turban days instead of bad hair days. And I like experimenting with, like, the shades or the color of my turban, you know. In a sense, I haven't really lost anything. I've just reassigned what my priorities are.
Yeah.
And there was a time where, like, I didn't throw away. I, like, gave my friends my earrings away, and I gave all, like, my my capris, which, I mean, I could still wear capris, but, like, I was just, like, I like sweatpants even more. But, you know, just, like, readjusting my whole wardrobe was kind of, it was easy because I was already kind of the whole loose t-shirt, pants kind of girl, so I didn't really have much change in that.
Right.
But it was just like the symbolicness of letting go of my earrings and putting, like, just banishing the drawers and drawers of makeup that I have that my mom got me, like when I was in high school. It was just kind of like I don't want to do that anymore because it's like none of it's gonna go with you. Like even like the clothes I wear, you know, even the skin I have, it's not gonna go with you when you die. You're just gonna be ash, and then so like why bother about it, you know? And the true adornments you can have, I feel like personally, are like the virtues you have, the actions you commit to, and the thoughts that you project, and that's what I want to focus my time cultivating. Not just doing some empty ritual to make myself feel better, you know. Not that I'm like hating on people.
No. Yeah, there's no judgment on it. It's your personal.
It's just like what I do, and I mean, I'm the only like turban Sikh girl in Cincinnati, in the Sikh congregation. I mean, like all my friends, you know, they dress up, they do makeup, you know, they wear fancy stuff, and like I do that too, you know, like I have dresses, I wear dresses. The only thing I have to do is wear tights now, and like that's it, you know. And I haven't lost any of my femininity. I feel more of a woman now than I did before.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Just because it's like really empowering to be self-sovereign, you know, to make your own decisions and not really be affected by, you know, what the media tells you, what like people are telling you. You're just doing your own thing and you're flowing on your own in your own river, and that's great.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's great. Yay. Well, unless you have anything else, like we can jump off, and then of course we'll be in touch via email and all that stuff. But just lovely to meet you. It
was really nice meeting you too. I mean, I just like love talking to people, and I've had an opportunity to do that through all of this, and I'm really surprised at how many people actually like want to have a conversation.
It's great. It's an eye opener.
It is.
In a really positive way. Yeah.